Alright everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, warm welcome. So, in today's episode, we're going to be updating the series I run on my channel, Total Cryptocurrency Market Blues. Within this series, we look at a plethora of charts from the total cryptocurrency market cap, we look at the altcoin market cap, we look at the others market cap and the others dominance, the others being a subset of altcoins within the top 125, and then we're going to make a few comments over on the Bitcoin dominance. With that being said, let's jump right into today's video. So, while the Bitcoin dominance has been taking a slight move to the downside, once again I've been highlighting this, we are still coming down into a major area of support. Previously we drew our fibs from the low to the highs, we start to come down, and as you can see we perfectly landed within our most important Fibonacci range. So really, unless the Bitcoin dominance breaks below 43%, I wouldn't be too worried. And I also don't think that we would be breaking below 43%. That's just my subjective opinion anyway, but nonetheless, I still think Bitcoin dominance is very, very bullish. And as I've been saying, I think once Bitcoin starts capitulating below its previous all-time high back here, which is what we are doing right now, I think we'd be getting ready for one quick mass capitulation. And within this capitulation, I think altcoins are going to get wrecked a lot harder than Bitcoin. So, with that being said, let's look at how all of these markets are doing. So with the total cryptocurrency market cap, this is the total, basically meaning this is the market cap of every single crypto added together in one chart. And, you know, we highlighted this when we were all the way back here at 1.22 trillion. A couple of weeks ago, really, we were in this massive, massive bear flag. And we were calling for this move all the way down to your 786 Fibonacci, which when we were talking about this, we were talking about wiping out almost $500 billion worth of gains, about a 40% drop, and this is exactly what we're doing. We've already wiped out almost 400 billion, and we're down about 33%. So, in my opinion, we are getting ready for that next leg to the downside at this moment in time, and that would mean, in my opinion, just like I said in the previous video when we readjusted this from here to here, that we've got about another 11% to go, and I don't necessarily think this will be the bottom either. I mean, if you look at what happened in previous cycles, so I mean, even if I don't draw it from the low, I draw it from this low, you can see you do not hold the 786 Fibonacci's, and this is mainly true for altcoins. You know, some cryptos, or you know, Bitcoin and the total crypto market cap will, and sometimes even Ethereum will hold up better than others. But it's a little bit of hopium to expect that we would hold a 786 Fibonacci in a bear market. Like, it just doesn't happen. And I've been talking about this for the past couple of months, and I still do not think that this is going to happen. So, you know, once again, I'm not saying that. And also, this 786 perfectly lines up with the previous all-time high, which is very interesting. So, if we do come down below this target, 735 billion, it would mean that the crypto markets have had no growth since January of 2018, which is a scary prospect. Nonetheless, it is what we are looking at this moment in time, and I do think probably the next move down for the total cryptocurrency market cap would actually be a move down to the 300 week, which would wipe out a further 23 to 24% of the market cap, meaning about approximately another 200 billion would be wiped off the face of the total crypto market cap. Now, with that being said, let's move over into the altcoin market cap. Now, I know some people have this drawn a few different ways, which is perfectly fine. I personally have my Fibonacci drawn from the low of the pandemic scare, but I know there's a lot of people that, you know, don't necessarily want to draw the bottom of a fib from a black swan event, which is completely fine. So I will provide you with an alternative Fibonacci, and that is from when we started this bullish uptrend after crabbing sideways out of the black swan event. So I'm going to provide you with these two different Fibonacci's. So and for example, like I said, you know my opinion, I personally have this fib drawn from down here. This is the one I find with the most validity, but nonetheless I will provide you with both perspectives in case that is not your cup of tea to draw it down from there. So whichever way, let me just keep it the same actually. So your macro 786 is right here. What you'll notice is I have the smaller chart. So from this low down here, this is the part on the right side of the screen, and the bigger Fibonacci down here is the one that displays the numbers towards the left side. So as you can see, your macro 786 is right here, which is what we were predicting. This was your next line and to the downside, and you know, once again, this is what we were talking about last video. But we're about another 13.5% away for the total 2, which by the way is the altcoin market once again. So, you know, this should represent about another 61 billion to the downside for the altcoin market. And if we look at what we're doing right now, we are backtesting the previous all-time high of the altcoins from January 2018. So once again, we have witnessed no growth in the cryptocurrency markets for the past four years or so, which once again, that is a very, very scary prospect, because, you know, previously, myself included, when people would FUD about Bitcoin, or when people would say, oh, you know, Bitcoin's crashing 50%, Bitcoin's crashing 60%, I would always say to people, you know, zoom out on these charts. You know, Bitcoin, and at that period in time, it was correct. I would always say, you know, zoom out on the charts. Bitcoin makes a new low. And then once you come up into the next bull run, you never revisit the previous all-time high. So from this cycle, never revisited previous all-time high. From this cycle, we never revisited the previous all-time high. And from this cycle that we're in, we're breaking below the all-time high. So I did make a separate video about this. That's all I want to talk about in that prospect. But once again, another sign that we have technically not seen any growth in the cryptocurrency markets for the past 4 years, which once again is a prospect that very, very much worries me. Now, we are in a messed up geopolitical state of the economy, and I won't dive into that too much, but the total 2, once again, looks like we're coming down to the 786. That would be your next leg down. So it does seem like altcoins are probably gearing up for that next major move down. And while, yes, the Bitcoin dominance has been heading down for the past week, so technically altcoins this week have been outperforming Bitcoin, but nonetheless, the altcoins in terms of their US dollar valuations on the total cryptocurrency market cap are all down in general. Now, here's where things get very, very interesting, because just quickly before we move over onto the others, we are sitting on the micro 786. Like I said, if you want to draw the start of the uptrend, not including for the Black Swan event, then we are sitting on your last line in the sand before we take a massive leg to the downside. We are also sitting on the previous all-time high. So this range that we are in right now, which is very, very thin, this is really what we are working with. I imagine once we break below this green box, and we're teetering on it right now, and I think we're getting ready to break down from it in the next couple of days, maybe in the next week, but I think we're getting ready for that next breakdown. So here's where things get relatively interesting, because if we come over to the others, yes, the others has been hit very, very hard, and we are capitulating below the 786 already, but the others' dominance in the past week alone has been performing very, very well. So the others' dominance is simply, so imagine you've got the total crypto market cap, right? The Bitcoin dominance would be the percent that Bitcoin's market cap takes up of the total crypto market cap. It's the same with the others' dominance. So you've got a pool of money, let's call it X. Out of that X, the others cryptocurrencies take up 11 or to 12% of X. So in other words, in all of the money in the cryptocurrency ecosystem at this moment in time, about 12% of that constitutes the others, which are within the top 125, excluding some of the blue chips like Bitcoin and Ethereum. This is what the others constitutes. Now, some of the others, which are mainly low market cap coins, shit coins, etc., they've been performing very, very well for the past week or so. You know, they've come down to the 618 and they've bounced. So while Bitcoin's taking a big leg to the downside, you've got a bunch of, you know, for example, move to earns, which are doing relatively well in the short term. Obviously, you know, zoom out on the macro charts. Don't look at things on the 4-hourly time frame on a macro downtrend. Zoom into the weekly time frame, you know, switch over to Heikenashis so you can get a better perspective on what is going on. And, you know, once you switch over to weekly Heikenashis, you'll really see that for all of these charts, we are just plummeting down in a very, very straight line. So while what we are seeing at this moment in time is relatively impressive for a 1 week bounce, this is why we look at things on the Heikonashis, because when you look at things on the Heikonashis, it makes it a lot harder to have a one green candle when you're in a sea of red. And the reason for that is, I'm generalizing here because it's a bit more complicated than opening halfway through, but the Heikonashi candles generally open approximately exactly halfway through the previous candle body. Now, I say approximately because it does also constitute the lows and the highs of the wicks on the previous candles, so take that with a grain of salt. We are somewhat generalizing, but as you can pretty much see, they do open approximately halfway through the previous candle bodies, and the reason for that is because it now takes more momentum to shift us up into a green candle. So, you know, unless we get continuation coming in next week, which in my opinion we won't, then we should start to expect this to once again start trickle down. And, you know, I take that back because I said we should once again start to see this trickle down, but it hasn't even trickled up on the weekly time frame for the Heikonashi, so definitely take that with a grain of salt. We are really not bullish right now. But that's pretty much all I've got. So total cryptocurrency market cap looks like in my opinion it wants to wipe out about another 200 billion before the blood is quenched. The next leg to the downside for total 2 is technically the 786 Fibonacci, just below the previous all-time high, but in my opinion the 300 week is probably where we're coming down to. This would be about another 31% drop, wiping out 140 billion worth of the altcoin market cap, putting us down here at 300 billion, which once again would mean that we haven't had any growth in 4 years, which is once again a very scary prospect. The others, total cryptocurrency, is probably being hit the hardest. So the altcoins in the top 125, not including altcoins like Bitcoin and Ethereum, you know, and some of the other blue chips. It doesn't constitute every single one of them. It just constitutes some of the ones in the lower bound of that. However, this is also massively capitulating, getting hit very hard. So as you can see, you know, Bitcoin is holding up better than all of these really in the long term. Yes, in the past week, portrayed by the others' dominance, you can see that some subset of altcoins are outperforming, but, you know, zoom out on the Bitcoin dominance and you will see that we're really not experiencing too much of a crazy move at this period in time. So I really wouldn't be worrying about what is going on Bitcoin, on the Bitcoin dominance rather. At this moment in time, you know, you can see we've been in a rally for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks, and, you know, we're switching over to the 8th week and it's being, you know, I can't even say bearish because it's really not bearish. I mean, I think some people maybe just expect for this to be week after week after week after week after week, a straight run to the upside, and as soon as people see like a tiny move back to the downside, people are like, oh, altcoins outperforming, is it now time to buy alts? But in my opinion, it's going to hop back over in a couple of weeks and start moving back to the upside. So definitely take that into consideration. Later on, I'm considering covering how Bitcoin is doing when accounting for the money supply. So this is something we've covered on our channel many times. In fact, what I might do is make a quantifying Bitcoin update, and in the quantifying Bitcoin update, once again, if you are a seasoned veteran to my channel, then you will know what we do. We say, you know, too many people quantify how Bitcoin's doing against the US dollar all the time, and this is why my channel tries to go against the grain. What we do is we quantify Bitcoin against things like the M2 money supply, so to account for inflation. We quantify Bitcoin against tech stocks and index funds like the Nasdaq, against Tesla, against the SPY, against gold, silver, US oil, Bitcoin against Facebook, and, you know, other tech stocks and things like that. So once again, the reason why we do this is because I think it's very imperative and important to realize that the US dollar should not be the only thing we quantify Bitcoin against. The whole point of Bitcoin is to get away from that system of fiat money. So why would we always be quantifying how Bitcoin is performing against the dollar, which is a depreciating asset which we are trying to move away from? So keep an eye out later. I am somewhat considering doing the quantifying Bitcoin update later. I will see how much time I have today, but if not today, I would definitely be looking at covering this tomorrow and running through how to quantify, or not how to quantify, I'll be running through Bitcoin against these other asset classes. If you do want to know how to quantify Bitcoin against the, the M2 money supply, against the NASDAQ, Tesla, against the, once again, SPY, gold, then be sure to head over to my channel, click over on, let me pull this back up. Be sure to head over to my channel, click on playlists, click on the educational series, and if you scroll down, let me find it for you, you will find this video here. Let's find it. How to comparing other asset classes to Bitcoin. In this video, I will teach you how to chart Bitcoin against gold, silver, Tesla, the SPY, and NASDAQ. Because, as I'm sure you know, you can type in Bitcoin USD very easily and get a Bitcoin USD pair. But you type in Bitcoin gold, or you type in Bitcoin silver, well, you can get silver to BTC actually, which is interesting. But for example, what if we want to compare it to the NASDAQ, which we can't do? What if we want to compare it to the SPY, which we can't do? What if we want to compare it to Tesla? These are all things that we can't do unless you know this little cheat in my video that I have explained over here. So be sure to check out the educational playlist. Once again, later I will definitely be looking at covering the quantifying Bitcoin series. That is all I've got for you today for the total cryptocurrency market update. As always, hope you enjoyed today's content, not financial advice. Cowboy out, and most importantly, peace.